So one of Trump's latest stunts is to say that he wants to ban Antifa and classify them as a terrorist organization. Now, the problem is there's no such thing as an organization called Antifa. It just doesn't exist. It means anti-fascist. That's what it stands for. But it's not an organization. You can't sign up. There's no leader. There's no hierarchy. There's nothing. I don't know what we all know what this means. We're not stupid. So look at this. This is from Politico. Trump says he's naming Antifa a terrorist organization. Can he do that? So just if you can see that underneath, it says, for one thing, the president lacks the legal authority to designate a purely domestic group. So yeah, that was his tweet. He tweeted that, the U.S. government would be designating Antifa a terrorist organization. Very good, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And, the thing is that you had Attorney General Bill Barr also come out, and this National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien. Along with Trump, they have blamed Antifa for violence and property damage. Okay, so Barr, the Attorney General, he said the Justice Department would not hesitate to prosecute people who crossed state lines to participate in violence, citing his authorities under anti-riot legislation. Here, I'm going to zoom that all the way in. Attorney General Barr did not invoke laws against terrorism, which do not let the United States government designate purely homegrown groups as terrorist organizations. So currently, the most that they can do, the State Department can designate foreign organizations as terrorist groups, but the United States has no domestic terrorism statute, and the FBI uses other legal authorities to prosecute domestic terrorism. Okay, so listen to me. Let me translate this for you. This is a bunch of shit. It's a bunch of horse manure. Okay, there's no such thing as Antifa. They can't, even if there were a thing as Antifa, they couldn't do it. They're not allowed to just randomly classify groups as terrorist organizations unless they're foreign, which is very convenient when you want to invade other countries. But regardless, the point here is that they're going to criminalize all forms of protest. Do you understand what I'm saying? And they have several ways of doing this. So they can label you as, you're participating in riots, even when you're peacefully protesting, and it's the police that are instigating and aggravating the situation and being inflammatory. And then they can try. I'm sorry, this is so hilarious. They can try to get Antifa classified, get that prosecuted with the help of the FBI as some kind of domestic terror group. By the way, you do realize that the FBI, with their COINTELPRO, we've talked about this many times before, with the counterintelligence program, they've been infiltrating groups, feminist groups, Marxist groups, black rights groups, yes, since decades. You know this, right? Trying to break them apart. Right now, they infiltrate Black Lives Matter groups. They've been doing this for years. Yes. Do you see how they try to criminalize all forms of protest, to silence dissent, and fracture groups and fracture movements? This is nothing new. But of course, Trump's base, they eat this up. Oh yes, he's going to classify Antifa as terrorist. Motherfucker, who's that? What is Antifa? What is that? Also, hold on a second. I think, was that part of this article? Yes, it was. Look at this. Hold on. This made me laugh. State Department spokespersons did not respond to requests for comment on whether Foggy Bottom was involved in the president's move. Now, look, forgive me. I'm not a native to DC. I'm not a native to Washington. I did not know who or what Foggy Bottom was. And I read that. I was like, Foggy Bottom? Who the hell is Foggy Bottom? That sounds like, Christ, man, you got quite a foggy bottom there, innit? Foggy Bottom. I was like, what the fuck is a foggy bottom? I had to look it up. Apparently it's a neighborhood in DC. So do you know, just like they'll say like number 10 Downing's number 10 when they mean the prime minister, or just like they'll say l'Elysée when they're talking about Macron, or just like they'll say Whitehall also when they're talking about the UK government. Well, we're here for the State Department. They said Foggy Bottom. For some reason, I didn't know that. Usually I know all these things, but Foggy Bottom was new to me. So Foggy Bottom We'll say it in a Cockney accent, and it might. Foggy Bottom. They were not available for any comment. Again, once again, they're using this whole rhetoric with the rioting that is occurring in many of our cities around the country. Oh, the voices of peaceful and legitimate protests have been hijacked by violent radical elements. Motherfucker, that's you. You're the fucking violent radical element that created the protests that made people protest in the first place. And then you're also instigating the protests and making them, turning them violent by setting the police loose on crowds like a bunch of hounds. Come on, man. Do I really have to break this down? Is this not obvious? It's just, once again, this whole notion that, if only you people had protested peacefully, we wouldn't be here. Motherfucker, if only you wouldn't murder blacks, we wouldn't be here. How about that? You committed the initial injustice by enslaving blacks, by bringing them here, by murdering them, what the fuck? Not the protest. The protest is a reaction to your initial injustice. Do I really have to hold a fucking history class here and go over the entire thing? Bitch, I will. And notice how everyone using this rhetoric, right? Donald Trump, State Department, you have these right-wing commentators. Oh, if only you people had protested peacefully. Where were you when people were protesting peacefully? You were criticizing them then. Colin Kaepernick is just one example with the kneeling. You're never satisfied. They're never fucking happy. By the way, that reminds me of something I tweeted. Peaceful protest, they're going to call you looters and arrest you as enemies of the state, no matter what. The cops are going to mace you and attack you regardless. Stop trying to appease an oppressive system. They weren't peaceful when they murdered George Floyd. Was that peaceful when they murdered him? Did they give him a chance? No. Where was peaceful for George Floyd? Fuck out of here, man. Like I said, they're going to call you looters. They're going to call you violent. They're going to say all of the negative things about you anyway. So this is from Glenn Greenwald. And he says, Trump's vow about Antifa is as incoherent as it is dangerous. Let me zoom in over here. There we go. The only possible outcome, if it is more than just a Twitter scream, is increased domestic repression, surveillance, and the quashing of dissent. The classic case of exploiting disorder for authoritarian ends. Exactly, yeah. I mean, as I said before, make no mistake about it. This is not, there's no such thing as Antifa. Make no mistake about it. The only goal is to say, oh, you're being unruly. We got to bring out the hammer now. We got to punish you. We got to silence you. Don't open your mouth or else you're a rioter. Don't open your mouth or else you're a danger to national security. Don't protest. Be quiet. Accept the oppression. That's the goal. Yeah, that's the underlying message here. Okay, let's not fucking delude ourselves. And Glenn also added underneath, any Antifa quote unquote terrorism order would have all the amorphous ambiguities and endless expansions of power abuses that we saw and still see with the war on terror, but applied even more than now domestically to core speech and dissent rights. Supporting that would be madness. Exactly. 100%. 100%. You guys know what happened post 9/11 with the Bush administration. Immediately, within 24 hours, they started mass surveillance. Okay? Immediately, they got to work on getting this Patriot Act passed, for a warrantless wiretapping on Americans. I mean, these gross violations of people's privacy worldwide and your Fourth Amendment domestically, they've been going on for decades now. And if Trump can, and if the government can, they will exploit any kind of catastrophe, any kind of disorder to strengthen these, to solidify them. Because even though they're doing them anyway, it's better for them if they can set a legal precedent, right? And solidify it into law. Because then it's like, hey, look, man, if you catch us, well, you got to shut the fuck up because, look, we can do this legally. So, I mean, I don't know what to say, man. And you know what's fucked up? It's like the whole conversation now is being derailed about Antifa. Motherfucker, I don't give a fuck about Antifa. What about blacks in America? What about George Floyd? Where is this justice that you speak of for George Floyd? Eric Garner, Breonna Taylor, and on and on and on. Like, how long is this list already? Stop trying to change the fucking subject. It's not about the looting. It's not about the protests. It's not, you understand? It's not about designating people as fucking Antifa or violent. Do you see how they try to derail the conversation? How the Trump administration, how the right-wingers, they're trying to derail the conversation and make it about, oh, you're being unruly, you're being violent. No. You committed the initial injustice. The system, America murdered George Floyd. Not the other way around. Don't get it twisted. So this whole Antifa nonsense, fuck out of here, man. This is ridiculous. I mean, it's comical in a sense, right? I mean, there's no such organization. It's absolutely ridiculous. Maybe Antifa exists in Foggy Bottom. As you can see, I Googled it. I was like, Foggy Bottom? What the bleeding hell is a Foggy Bottom? This made me laugh so much. Seriously, Foggy Bottom. Wait, but you got a spot of Foggy Bottom over there. Is Trump listening? Do I need to put on the Rick James voice? Listen, man. Antifa is located in Foggy Bottom. And the leader is Corn Pop. And we are